I had always had my head in the sky. My parents like to remind me I was the only child they knew who didn't cry during airplane travel and was always overly excited before every takeoff. There even exists a video of a 4-year-old me crying, but I wanted to fly by plane. However, I really fell in love with flying only about 5 years ago, when I was chronically ill for 2 months and lying in hospital. Flying seemed liberating for me at this time. It still is, and surely it will always be. I began my journey with soaring about 2.5 years ago, when I took my first ever flight in a sailplane at the Leszno airport. It was a birthday present from my parents and sister. 8 months later, I started my practical training, and only half a year ago, I passed my check ride. Currently, I have worked about 50 hours on 5 different types of sailplanes. The Poles have a considerable input into the field of gliding sport. Not only our compatriots take top places on international rankings, but also Polish sailplanes are so successful and appreciated worldwide that they even fly on the other side of the globe, in distant New Zealand. Despite that, a remarkable number of people have minimal idea of gliders. They wonder, how is it even possible that an engineless machine could fly? Flying a glider in a physical aspect is very similar to skiing. In both cases, the object moves down some kind of a slope. The image above was developed by a Glenn Research Center, which is a NASA establishment. Gliders stay aloft due to air flowing around the adequately profiled wings, which generate the lift force. That is common knowledge. However, not many people realize that there is also a second component force of the whole aerodynamic force, which is drag. Drag is an air resistance force of air resistance working in the opposite direction than the aircraft is moving. Ratio of lift to drag is called glide ratio. The image indicates that proportionally, the higher the glide ratio is, the more distance an aircraft may travel from a given altitude. Therefore, constructors of competitive sailplanes seek to eliminate any potential sources of drag. But why do gliders have such long and thin wings? High static pressure under the lower surface of the wings tries to get to the upper surface of the wingtips in order to even out the pressure. This results in creation of vortices, a source of so-called induced drag. The simplest way to reduce it is through increasing the aspect ratio of the plane, or in other words, making wings as long and as thin as possible. Now that we have talked over the theory of flying, let's move to the more practical and more enjoyable part of soaring. Of course, gliders are engineless, so they can't really take off on their own. There are 2 most popular methods of bringing gliders into the sky. The first one is aerotow, and the second one is winch launch. The former is about hooking up a rope to a glider in the plane and then simply towing in a formation flight. On the other hand, winch launching is more similar to flying a kite. Aerotow is usually more pricey than winch launching. However, at the same time, it's way more convenient, as an airplane can take the sailplane into any place at any altitude. As we learned earlier, gliders constantly descend, and they have to somehow regain the lost altitude. Fortunately, atmosphere is seldom static. And despite the wind, the air can also move vertically. The first method is thermaling. Thermals are columns of hot air, hotter than the air surrounding, and therefore it rises. Thermals are marked by fluffy cumulus clouds. The other method is ridge soaring. When wind encounters some type of a hill, it is deflected upwards, as air literally climbs up the slope. Another phenomenon is a mountain wave. On the leeward side of a mountain range, it appears and air heaves just like sea waves do, reaching enormous altitudes, sometimes even high into the stratosphere. As a student pilot, you begin your flight training in a low-performance but safe and stable glider. You take about 40 flights with your instructor, who teaches you how to do basic maneuvers, like taking off, landing, turning coordinately, and how to deal with emergency situations, like rope braking at a low altitude, or how to get out of a spin, which is a very dangerous state of flight. The initial training lasts about a week and ends through doing 5 solo flights. After that, instructors teach you how to perfect your landing technique and how to utilize thermals. Once you have acquired those skills, you have to make a 50-kilometer cross-country flight in order to proceed to the practical exam. The whole training process takes about 1 very intense season. However, it isn't uncommon for it to extend to even 2 or 3 years, depending on whether the gliders are available and if the weather is suitable. Thanks to flying, I learned how to escape my comfort zone. Even when I begin my flight at noon, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. in order to arrive in Leszno on time, attend a briefing, take all the gliders and planes out, prepare them, tow them by car to the launch point. It all requires discipline and a huge input of energy. Also, at the beginning of my journey, I didn't have many acquaintances, as I come from a non-aviation family, and none of my friends at that time had similar interests to mine. Fortunately, it has drastically changed, and I've got to know a lot of new people who share the same interests as me. Aviation actually forces you to get along with people, as despite the fact that you fly alone generally, it's a team sport, as you need to cooperate as a group in order to take the gliders out of the hangar or even just simply take off. Also, flying killed procrastination in me during the summertime. I had trouble managing so much free time that I wasted all of it on internet, just doing nothing specific for whole weeks. Flying for me is not only a way of relieving stress from daily activities and daily troubles, but also a means thanks to which I have motivation to push myself forward and develop as a person. Flying isn't just about controlling the machine. It's about understanding and controlling yourself. Amelia Earhart. If I have convinced you that flying a glider is a wonderful experience, you could in your free time visit a local aero club and buy an introductory flight, and as a passenger, soar up into the sky. However, it is very possible that your dreams completely differ from mine, and no matter what they really are, I highly encourage you to find a hobby that will discourage you from scrolling on internet and just wasting a lot of time and just basically distract you from the digital abundance we are all overwhelmed with. A hobby that will allow you to spread your wings in all your spheres of life. Thank you.